Hello everyone, I'm McCall and I'm a somatic therapist. If you'd like to find out a little bit about what I do, you can check out my website, which is posted down below this video. Punarvasu. This is the 7th nakshatra in this series of 27 videos that I'll be doing on the nakshatras. And overall, the reason I'm doing these videos is a little bit of my little personal pet project here. And what I'm attempting to do, this is part of my own learning experience, is I'm connecting the nakshatras with Kundalini yoga. And again, because everything is really ultimately connected by the basic attributes of nature. So the basic attributes of nature, as described within Vedic lore, are called the gunas. The gunas are the forces that exist in all creation, and that is the force of expansion, contraction, and balance, generically. Punarvasu, the 7th nakshatra, is particularly interesting to me because it screams of repetition. It's about repeating something, and it's about perfecting a pattern. It's sort of subjective. This is this particular nakshatra is very much just simply about directed activity. It's about repeating something over and over again. And again, this can be bad things and it could be good things. It's simply activity that's repeated in order to cultivate something. So the sign is very much about cultivation. This sits at the very beginning of the sign of Cancer. So, Punarvasu, well, also I should mention that Punar essentially just means again. So Punarvasu is equivalent to what Yogi Bhajan calls projection 23, which I think there you go, projection 23. So projection 23 is called the commander. And I thought this was a really telling term about the nature of this. So if you want a commander, if you want somebody who's, I guess, leading you, you want them to be wise, right? You don't want somebody who's a novice. You want somebody who's cultivated, somebody who has been there, done that. Any sort of military general, let's say, before they can move up the hierarchy, they have to kind of master being a soldier. They have to master all the levels that lie below them before they're ever appointed to commander or general or whatever you want to call it. And again, this is idealistically. I think the reality is probably a little different. However, I would personally want my commander, my general, to be somebody who's got a great deal of wisdom. Wisdom, as I understand it, is knowledge plus experience. This sign is about the experience. It's about repetition. It's about repeating things in order to cultivate. So sticking with the gunas, this idea of the gunas, on a basic impersonal mind kind of level, the flow through one's life path, this energy is rajasic, meaning that these people were born into this life. They were born within the first third of the zodiac, or they were imprinted by the moon through the first third of the zodiac to be busy, to be active. The second component, or the secondary level here, which is the more sort of functional mind, this is part of our mind that is either protective or it's proactive, or it's, once again, about balancing or neutral. In this particular case, it's sattvic or neutral. This is the neutral mind at play. So finally, on the attitude level, this is what we're projecting out into the world. So we've got this really, really basic vibe, the more sort of fundamental vibes here, which are activity, which is then moving into a discerning mind, a mind that's like, should I do this or that? Should I do this or that? Should I do this or that? Again, this is the functional aspect of the mind. And then finally, the attitude, which is, again, more activity. So the symbols of this particular nakshatra are particularly interesting because, well, let me back it up. So going back to this idea of commander, I wrote down here the word leadership. So a leadership, well, for a leader, again, you'd want the leader to have a certain degree of I guess, objectivity. You'd want them to be a little bit removed from the situation so that they can see it clearly. And the only way you can see something clearly is if you're neutral to it, and to some degree. So these folks, on their sort of, I guess, style level, this is kind of like the individual style, is, again, they're busy, and then they're discerning. And that's what a leader does. They're like, okay, we're going to be active, we're going to get shit done, but we're going to choose correctly. So now going into the symbols, this will make more sense. So the symbols, there's two different symbols associated with this sign. I'm sure there's probably more. However, the two symbols that I'm going to cover are one of the house, and the other one is the bow, like a bow and arrow. So a house, how this works is, so your house represents your place of rest. This is the place you return to recuperate. And then you go to work, or you go to busy, whatever busy is. It doesn't have to be work. It could be any of a number of things. It's just how you're busy. So whatever it is you're busy doing, you're always going to return to home. So these folks tend to have a hermity quality a little bit. And again, because they're inherently aware of how activity can wear them out. Again, there's all this basic level impersonal mind activity. These people are absolutely compelled to be busy. However, they have this discerning mind that's like, oh, I need to find balance here. I need to find some balance. So I'm going to be busy, busy, busy. Then I'm going to withdraw. Again, kind of a hermit-like behavior. Go home, rest, meditate, and discern how to be busy again. And this makes sense even a little bit more when you consider the bow and a target. So you've got the bow and a target. So this target, at least in the course of these people's lives, again, because their goal in life is not so perfectly defined. These people are more about cultivating. So they're cultivating their life path. They're cultivating their skills. The goal's not as consequential. Again, it's not that it's unimportant. It's just that really what it is, this is about creating depth and understanding. And again, it's about that sort of cultivated individual, the cultivated life path. So these folks, what they do is they've got this bow, and they figure out whatever the target is, and they shoot an arrow at that target. Or the other way to say it is that once they discern what it is they want to do, they shoot their arrow or their activity in that direction. So now the bow represents their sort of, to me, it's their assessment skill. It's their discernment skill. They can aim the bow one way or another, but it's ultimately what's directing the target, or directing the arrow to the target anyway. So again, because this is about repetition, so this target, although it may be moving, these folks always go out to retrieve that arrow to bring it back. And they put it back in their quiver, which is where you put the arrows. So you pull an arrow out of the quiver, new target, you shoot, then you go to the target, get your arrow back, return, put it back in the quiver until you discern whether or not that was the way you wanted to do things. And then you repeat, and you repeat, and you repeat. So again, this is all that's really going on with Punarvasu, is this repetition of a pattern. Artha, I wrote down here Artha. Artha is their path. And so a life path, and there are a few different life paths. You have a Dharma life path, an Artha life path, a Kama life path, and Moksha. So Moksha means liberation. Kama means desire. So that basically means the seeking of pleasurable things, etc. Artha is the life path about directed activity. And then finally you have Dharma. Dharma is like, it's meant to be. This is my purpose, my soul's purpose in life. So these folks have that directed activity. That's it. That's all it means. It means directed activity. These people are busy. and then they're not busy, and then they're busy, and then they're not busy. And so again, repeat, repeat, repeat. So hopefully that's all pretty clear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into how I figured this stuff out as it relates to Yogi Bhajan's book called The Mind, and specifically the exercises or the meditations that Yogi Bhajan created for these 27 projections or 27 nakshatras. Okay, so here we go. We've got Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. My copy is obviously really well loved. It's in pretty bad shape, actually. So how I figured this out is, and well, one thing I should say is I highly recommend this book. It really goes into, again, you have to have the desire or the want to understand, I guess, the human mind as it relates to nature, etc. So this book goes into a great deal of detail on that. So what we've got here is universal mind, which is chitta, and its precipitation through the elements: ether, air, fire, water, earth. So ether is when you get the impersonal level: manas, ahankar, and buddhi. And these are the three attributes that relate to the nakshatra or the gunas: tamas, rajas, sattva. And these further precipitate into the functional minds: negative mind, positive mind, and neutral mind. And then they become the styles, so the combinations of, let's say tamas, which becomes manas, which is the aspect of our mind that records and stores and remembers past, and etc., mixes with the negative mind, the functional mind, or the protective, defensive mind. And so negative plus negative is this defender. So those are the kind of styles. There's 9 of them. And that's on the level of fire. So on the level of water, you get these 27 projections. So how I figured out Punarvasu, so Punarvasu is described as having rajasic energy on its basic impersonal mind level, meaning ahankar. And you can see it says it bounds, contains, attaches, identifies, and categorizes. Again, this is an active principle. So then you follow this down to the second level, which was, go over this way, which is the neutral mind, or sattva. And again, this is about observing, judging, discerning. And it's a sort of a passive principle, a balancing principle. And then you follow this even further. So you've got positive, neutral, and then we've got positive once again on the attitude level. So that's assessment of a successful projection 23, the commander. And so what you do then, sorry about the fast focus there, we've got page 186, projection 23, the commander, some blah blah blah, and the exercise, and the mantra that goes with the exercise. Done for 11 to 31 minutes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the projection 23, or the commander, the exercise for this. So this is a sort of, I would say it's a meditation for you Star Trek fans out there. And what I mean by that is this. This is the mudra. So you're going to split off the fingers, pinky, ring touching, index finger, middle touching, and thumbs stretched. And you're going to hold the arms at the level of the shoulders, or hold the hands rather at the level of the shoulders. You're going to have to pull up nice and tall for this, which what helps is that you have two things going on. One is I'm stacking my spine over my sit bones in my perineum area. And then I'm doing a light neck lock. So stack and then pick up by extending out the crown. So pulling your body into alignment. So the breath pattern on this is the tricky aspect. So what we're doing here is what's called segmented breathing. So segmented breathing, what we're going to do is we're going to inhale in 10 segments. This is all through the nose. So it's inhaling, 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 and it gets a little bit of air, 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 until you hit 10 inhales, 10 little inhales, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 little exhales. So a little puff out, little, until again you're completely empty of air. So 10 little inhales in, full of air, 10 little exhales out, empty of air. And that's the inhale and exhale pattern. Now, after we inhale and we're full of air, what we're going to do is there's a mental mantra you're going to repeat. The mental mantra, which I showed you in the previous portion of this video, is Aad Sach. That's AAD SACH. Jugad Sach. Habi Sach. And then Nanak Ahose Bi Sach. And so all the mantra basically means is, and I'll read it right off the book here, it says, true in the beginning, true throughout the ages, true even now, and Nanak says, truth shall ever be. So Nanak, if you're unfamiliar, is basically a Sikh saint. So this mantra, what we do is so once you have completely inhaled the air, you retain the breath. And when you retain the breath, you don't want to let the diaphragm drop. You want to inhale and maintain a slight pull on the diaphragm. And with the breath retained in, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Habi Sach, Nanak Ahose Bi Sach, one time through. And again, this is mentally done. So you mentally recite the mantra. And I'll put the words on this video so you can see them. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this. And again, because the mantra is mental, it's going to kind of fall flat. So I'm going to do the mantra out loud so you can hear what it sounds like. So again, pull it nice and tall. Anchor your sit bones, stack above perineum, elbows down, hands above the elbows, level the shoulders, more or less, fingers parted, thumbs extended, neck lock, shoulder blades together. And the breath is inhaling in 10 segments. Exhale, retaining the breath, mental mantra, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Habi Sach, Nanak Ahose Bi Sach. Exhale, 10 segments. All the air is out. And repeat. Now the thing about this is also there was no eye position or dristi stated in the meditation. So my suggestion is either the eyes closed and awareness at the brow point, or rolled up to the crown of the head, or tip of the nose. And another default dristi would be 9/10 shut. The eyes are 9/10 shut. So you do this meditation, again, it's 11 to 31 minutes. And let's see, so to finish, so the finishing move here is you inhale, retain the breath, exhale, done. So you want to retain the breath for maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. So again, it's inhale, retain the breath, 10, 20 seconds, exhale, and you're complete. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I thank you for watching.